Değerli öğretmenlerim, sevgili arkadaşlarım ve bugün aramızda bulunan kıymetli büyüklerim. 120. yıl diploma törenimize hoş geldiniz. Burada özel bir konuşmacı olarak değil, öğrenci birliği başkanı olarak arkadaşlarım adına duygu ve düşüncelerimizi dile getirmek için görevlendirildim. Bu konuda bana yardımcı olan arkadaşım Ağzı Çalış'a teşekkür ederim. Yaşam bir bakıma anların birleşmesidir. Su içtiğimiz an, ağladığımız ya da düşündüğümüz anlar gibi. Bu anların bazıları nadidelikleri oranında daha bir değer kazanırlar. Yılların emeği, kahrı, göz nuru verilir o bir tek ana ulaşabilmek için. İşte yaşadığımız an böylesi bir andır. Biter gider bir şeyler anıların olduğu yere. Uzaklardaysa yeni umutlar doğmaktadır. Ve sanki aydınlık, esintili bir tepenin doruğundayız şimdi. Aşağılara bakınca başarımızı bunca sevinçli kılan yolları görüyoruz. Üzerinden binbir sabır ve isyanla geçtiğimiz uzun yolları. Tepenin öbür yanında gelecek uzanıyor mutluluğa yönelen. Geçmiş kadar geleceği de içine alan bir sevinci yaşıyoruz. Sürekli aşmak, yücelmekse insanın özü, yeni tasarımlara olanak veren bu ayrılık üzmekten çok mutlu ediyor bizi. Biz artık anılarda ve geleceğe olan özlemlerde güçlüyüz. Öyle bir dönemecindeyiz ki yaşamın, durup sorasım geliyor. Ömrün neresindeyiz? İnsanlığımızın hangi aşamasındayız? Evrenin hangi noktasında? Bu soruları yanıtlayabilmek için nereden geldiğimize, geçmişte neleri gerçekleştirdiğimize bir bakmalıyız. Geleceğimiz hangi temel üzerinde yükselecektir? Bu temeli kurarken bize sağlanan olanaklar bakımından biz mutlu bir azınlıktık. Robert Kolej bize kendimizi geliştirmek, kanıtlamak için gerekli donatımı sağlamıştı. Bu okuldaki yıllarımız süresince becerilerimizi bilim, sanat ve spor alanlarında deneme olanağı bulduk. Artık bedenimizin, zekamızın ve ilgi alanlarımızın uzandığı boyutları kestirebiliyoruz. Düzenlediğimiz alma törenleri, Türkçe ve İngilizce tiyatro oyunları, folklor gösterileri, piyano ve pop konserleri, fotoğraf sergileri, TÜBİTAK'ta bazı arkadaşlarımızın projelerinin elde ettiği başarılar, okul, dergi ve gazetemiz 1982-83 yılını alışılmışın üstünde verimli kılmıştır. Düşünme ve yaratma sınırlarımız düz ayak gerçeklerden kurtulup derin ve çok yönlü anlatıma yönelmiştir. Üstünlükleri ve eksiklikleriyle yaptıklarımız yapacaklarımızın pusulasıdır. Bugüne kadar tüm bu başarılar bizimdi. Gel gelelim yapıldıktan sonra ayrıldılar bizden. Toplumun malı oldular. Bizse var kalabilmek için içimizdeki doymak bilmez canavarı aşma, yücelme, daha iyiye varma, içgüdümüzü tatmin etmek için düşmek zorundayız bir kez daha yollara. Tükettiğimiz Robert Kolej'den yeni kaynaklara doğru. Yaratıcılığı, özgünlüğü besleyen, bağnazlığı, yüzeyselliği boğan kaynaklara doğru. Bu yolda hiçbir zaman ödün vermemekte kararlı olduğumuz değerlerse ülkemizin tam bağımsızlığı ve dünya barışıdır.
Members of the class of 1983, parents and friends, I'm very pleased to welcome you to this year's graduation exercises, which coincide with the 120th year in which Robert College has been in existence. In an auspicious way, it also happens to coincide with World Environment Day. The next event on our program today will be the student speaker. He is speaking on behalf of the class of 1983, John Manaus.
Next year we will be in the lycée. Everyone knows that, and everyone wonders what he's going to find there. Although I don't know much about it, there is one thing for sure. It will be much harder. It will require much more work and seriousness. Teachers won't be as lenient as they were in Bingham Hall. Even the name lycée has something majestical in it. However, none of us should get discouraged. We have come this far, so we can go that far and beyond. Together we'll clear the hurdles of life there and find ourselves at the graduation ceremony of the lycée in 3 years. Greetings to you all and welcome to this great day, subjectively speaking, which marks the end of our lycée career and at the same time be the starting point of a totally new experience. We are all senior high school graduates, or are to become in a short while, and I'm supposed to be giving here a speech in the name of the class of '83. I say I'm supposed to because I don't know of one single text that could represent anyone but myself and satisfy a considerable portion of this audience. The diversity of the people assembled here makes preparing a commencement day speech a very difficult activity. I cannot think of any other occasion which could assemble 118-year-olds along with their parents, teachers, and relatives and still have everyone at the peak of their happiness. As far as I know, this is the one solid exception to the generation gap theory. Of course, each group has come for completely different and even opposite reasons. To illustrate this better, there sits my father, I doubt if you understand what I'm saying, busy taking my photograph and exhilarated that I'm speaking up here. Whereas I, with sweat running down my back, I would desire nothing but sit down and take a deep breath. Well, I have to agree, not quite. I'll try to stay here as long as I can. But you have to admit that on one extreme, there are those parents who have come to hear how wonderful a school their bright kid is graduating from, and how super a child they have brought up. Whereas on the other extreme, there are those students who would like to listen to an introspective speech which will examine their 3 years in the lycée and try to examine their deficiencies and what they have made use of their 3 years. I'm sorry if I will disappoint the former, the parents, for like Shakespeare's Antony, I come to bury the class of '83, not to praise it. But I don't think I am capable of satisfying the latter, not at least at this point of my life. Now, all this talk would have been unnecessary a week ago because academic pressure was so high that the impossibility of getting anything ready by this date had bitterly dawned on me. So I was going through my piles of papers, the nightmare of my mother, and ran across the text of the speech I had given on Orta graduation. And to my great amazement and surprise, and happiness of course, I saw that with a few alterations, the same speech would be quite presentable at lycée graduation. In the days that followed, I had the opportunity to do some, hopefully, creative thinking, but I still cannot refrain from quoting from that document, which, to use the literary critic's most favorite phrase, has stood the test of time for 3 years, and as such will go down among the classics into the attic, along with Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights and E.M. Foster's A Passage to India. Now, I shall just be content with quoting from that speech, and will leave it to your discretion to decide how much of it applies to us. Okay. For sure, we all had our ups and downs during that time. We became unhappy over trifles and cheered up for practically nothing. The difference between a 6.4 on a test and a 6.5 meant the difference between life and death. A pop quiz was considered a mortal blow, whereas the absence of a teacher was celebrated as a major victory. And I say, what about Orta 3? And it can very well be said, what about Lycée 3? Orta 3 was the year when we were the masters of Bingham Hall in everything from club administration to sports. Nevertheless, this didn't keep us from acting like little Orta preps in many matters. Our nervousness still reached the peak before tests, A breakdown still came after receiving grades, and we never learned how to wait quietly when a teacher was late to class. I can easily say that in some situations, the only thing that would differentiate us from Orta Preps is our size. And as you might have guessed, the first paragraph was also taken from this speech. It wasn't a Freudian slip. I did not stand here, however, to talk about how little our childish habits have changed over the years. If the difference between a 6.4 and a 6.5 still means the difference between life and death, and if the absences of teachers are celebrated as major victories, then I do not think this can be blamed on the immaturity of the group assembled here, but rather on the racing track atmosphere that is being continually fostered on campus in most academic and extracurricular activities. This also perpetuates a self-feeding lie that the winners have some superhuman qualities and that they have every right to look down upon the losers and the rest of the petty humans making up mankind. I am pretty much sure that if students were tested for humility, or one of these plaquettes be given for that virtue, we would obtain in RC the extraordinary phenomenon of having people boast of being humble. I hope I'm not misunderstood, though I often am, for I do not wish to deny that RC is academically one of the better schools in Turkey, if not in the Middle East. But I do object to our graduates going into the world and acting as if they know everything or own the place. 99% of this country's population, practically the rest of the world, and definitely the whole of the next generations, could not care that we are RC graduates. And in fact, they couldn't care less that we existed. Because I'm sorry to admit, but a highly academic school does not produce a single individual who is ready to perform a single function that ensures the existence of a society. Let's illustrate that. Let's assume the world undergoing a power cut, an electricity cut, for a few years. I cannot imagine a single person present here who would still not be on the unemployment list at the end of the first month. We have to face at some time in our life the bitter truth that we are as much a luxury to this world as the TV or the video set. A very important luxury maybe, but still a luxury. This, though a highly uncomfortable thought, is better than believing in the falsehood that we are the indispensable heads of society. In fact, even by the standards of the upper echelon, or the upper strata of civilization, we are deficient in many ways. And our strength in certain fields, which is something we should be proud of, should not obscure our perception of our weaknesses in others. And we should not fall in the trap of Lilliputianism, in other words, the belittling of those around us who do not share our interests or opinions. At this point, I want to quote from Lord Snow, the author of the book The Two Cultures, in that book he deals with the dichotomy between the scientific and literary worlds. He says, they, the intellectuals, give a pitying chuckle at the news of scientists who have never read a major work of English literature. They dismiss them as ignorant specialists. But once or twice, asks these literary people whether they know the second law of thermodynamics. The response will be cold. It will also be negative. Yet you are asking something which is about the scientific equivalent of, have you read a work of Shakespeare's? He believes that if he asks an even simpler question, such as what do you mean by mass or acceleration, which is the scientific equivalent of saying can you read, not more than 1 in 10 of the highly educated would have felt that he was speaking the same language. So the great edifice of modern physics goes up, and the majority of the cleverest people in the Western world have about as much insight into it as their Neolithic ancestors would have had. Now, I'm not saying that this is the rule, but this kind of, shall I say, arrogance is also present on campus, where we are rarely aware of our deficiencies in such essential academic subjects as the fine arts, philosophy, and even world history. Not wishing to appear as the prophet preaching the multitude, I would like to admit that I too am the victim of this disease, in fact maybe more than others. I am very much interested in Middle Eastern architecture, and I frown every time I hear someone say he has never been to the Saint Sophia or the Suleymaniye Mosque. But I too am quite ignorant, and I get very angry when I'm criticized for that, of such things as poetry, jazz, and the sciences. And to be quite honest, I had not even heard of the name of the Süleymaniye Mosque until 2 years ago. So it would not be wrong, I think, to label ourselves as the nouveau riche of the intellectual world. To conclude, in order to get out of that trap, we should try to widen our experiences as much as possible and be respectful of all interests and opinions as long as they are respectful of others in their turn. I can see in the back rows a few people in a deep slumber, probably initiated by my provocative speech, and I assume they're seeing nightmares about the world having power cuts and they having to become farmers and going to the Süleymaniye in a coffin. But before we all wake them up, I want to talk about the prize that we shall all receive today, but in fact that we have all received over the years. Now, don't worry, I will not hand any of these or test you for that. This is a different prize. There is no loser, there is no winner. The prize that I'm talking about is not a first place award in any contest, but it is the satisfaction of having learned something which the loser is more likely to have done. The prize that we are receiving, and that's what makes graduating from RC so great, is the key that shall enable us to choose our own road in life. I shall call that key, tentatively, wisdom. Contrary to the uneducated laborer, who has little or no choice, we can become anything from a shepherd to an atomic physicist, and this is a horizontal comparison, not a vertical one. This key we have obtained through a strong education in liberal arts, and though we cannot become everything at once, we will start making our decisions that will lead us to our final point, the integrated individual. Now at this point I would like to paraphrase Robert Frost. He says, "Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and we, sorry we cannot travel both and be one traveler, long stand and look down one as far as we can, and then take the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, we keep the first for another day. We should doubt if we should ever come back. We shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and we took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." The French novelist Marcel Proust, as you might have found out, believes that neither the artist nor his creation, but the work, the act of creation which we call art, is eternal. Let's change that a bit. Let's say neither the teacher nor the student, but education is eternal. We are descendants of a long tradition, which as RC date back to 1863, this is what the 120th year, but as the concept of education per se, dates back to the Academy of Plato in Athens, symbolically speaking, of course. Now, both Plato and the founder of RC have obviously survived through their works down to this present day. But this sinks to insignificance besides the decisive question as to what has become to education. If it still fosters the spirit of humanitarianism, tolerance, free thought, non-violence, and I stress the letter, brotherly love, and scholarly investigation, then it has come down uncorrupted and with eternity preserved in its essence. Otherwise, it is dead and an evil that must be extinguished. We can be proud of belonging to the vast phenomenon we call wisdom, or to use the ancient Greek word, Sophia, only if we believe in the beauty and value of striving to achieve truth for its own sake. To conclude, I would like to leave the last word to the greatest pen in English literature, whom I believe to be William Shakespeare. I shall not say from which play I quote, for this can be our last test question. Out, out, brief candle, lies but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Yes, Macbeth. What a joy if you can be the idiot who tells the tale. I wish you all a very happy commencement day and good luck in the years to come. Thank you.
together before the ceremony today to compare notes on what we were going to say, I'm struck by the number of times in what John said he used the words winning and losing, because the title that I've chosen for what I would like to say today is It's a Win-Lose World, or is it? I recall several occasions during the past year when individual students, finding themselves in what they construed to be highly competitive circumstances, experienced profound disappointment, even anguish, when they did not emerge number one. There are many such situations in which one can be caught up: academic contests, athletic events, elections for office, casting for a play. How gratifying it is to the ego to see one's name at the top of a list. How shattering it is to one's pride to fall short, even if by only a small margin. After all, it's a win-lose world, isn't it? That's what life is all about, winning and losing. If I win, somebody else has to lose, don't they? And if you win, I lose, right? So the whole point, the bottom line, as they say, is to create the maximum number of situations in which I come out number one. This point of view is indeed common. As you end one important phase of your life and enter upon another, let's take a moment to re-examine it. It seems a little too glib and facile. It's also an unerring recipe for unhappiness. As a result of having been born into a particular family and in a particular part of the world, you were thrust at a very early age into a race for access to a good school. This was a highly competitive contest in which a small number of contestants succeeded and a large number failed. What differentiated winners and losers, in essence, was the ability to remember large quantities of information and the ability to do well on examinations. You managed to perform better than most of the other entrants in this contest, and consequently, you came to this school. Your impressions about the nature of the world were dominated during your childhood by this strenuous participation in a win-lose situation. Here at Robert College, the impressions were reinforced. Success has been defined by and large as high grades and effective preparation for the next examination hurdle. The qualities necessary for success were the same: the ability to remember large quantities of information and the ability to do well on examinations. However, because you were already selected for just these qualities, most of you have experienced a considerable measure of success in your time here. Your early impressions about the competitive nature of the world were reinforced and confirmed. Now comes the transition. You're entering into a situation which is different in two important respects. First, many of the people with whom you will be compared will be, in important ways, as competent or more competent than you are. If you insist upon defining each situation in win-lose terms, you must expect frequently to lose. Secondly, success will be defined in much broader terms than you're accustomed to. The characteristics favored will go well beyond a capacity to memorize and to perform well on tests. Increasingly, you will be called upon to do things rather than talking about or writing about doing things. This is a new and more varied arena. It will take some getting used to. For these reasons, then, you may wish to reevaluate the conventional wisdom which says it's a win-lose world. Continuing in that pattern probably means you will have to be prepared to accept a drastically lower win-to-lose ratio and much consequent unhappiness. Another aspect of this matter is the possibility that situations only harden into a win-lose format if you approach them in these terms. The alternative is to look for win-win solutions to problems. This mode says it is entirely possible that we can find a course of action which will enable both of us to win. What is required is some flexibility in defining winning and some imaginative application of right brain creativity. Consider, for example, the relationship this year between two Robert College publications, Opinion and the Bosphorus Chronicle. The two groups of students involved could have defined their activities in win-lose terms. That was the precedent and certainly the most likely position to take. Had they done so, the outcome would have been mutually disastrous. In fact, they did not do so, and the outcome has been unprecedented success for both the newspaper and the literary magazine. There is a win-win world out there if we allow it to happen. Let me conclude by reminding you of what you know better than I. There is much in the culture and social structure of your country which emphasizes cooperation over competition. The entire fabric of extended families and close friendships, which provide the basis for every Turkish community, is developed around assumptions of collaboration and the advancement of group welfare. All I'm urging this afternoon, then, is that you not be too greatly influenced by the competitive veneer of your recent experience. Build instead upon the cooperative traditions of your heritage. As I wish you Godspeed, I'd like to add a few words in Turkish, if I may. Sayın misafirler, kıymetli veliler ve sevgili çocuklar. Şu anda başarılı bir öğretim yılını geride bırakarak Robert College tarihine parlak bir sayfa daha eklemenin mutluluğu içerisindeyiz. Anılarıyla geleceğinizi süsleyecek olan okulumuzda yönetici ve öğretmenlerinizin sizlere verdiği çeşitli bilgi ve deneyimler, inanıyorum ki bundan sonraki çalışmalarınızda size ışık tutacak ve yön verecektir. Bu nedenle sizleri yetiştiren yönetici ve öğretmenlerinize burada teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Çok çalıştınız ve her zaman en iyi düzeyde olabilmek için çok mücadele ettiniz. Üretimde olduğu kadar eğitimde de çeşitli faaliyetlerde gayret gösterdiniz. Ancak unutmayınız ki hayatta kazanmak kadar kaybetmek de vardır. Yaşam kazanç ve kayıplarla doludur. Bunu bilerek atacağınız bilinçli her adım sizleri mutluluğa daha çok yaklaştıracak ve yaşantınızı süsleyecektir. Yıllar önce çetin sınavlar kazanarak girdiğiniz Robert College'den bugün sizleri başarılı ve bilgili birer öğrenci olarak sevinçle duyuyorlar. Ve üniversite sınavlarında da başarılı olacağınıza inanıyoruz. Ben ve bütün öğretmen arkadaşlarım sizlere başarı ve mutluluk diliyor. Hepinizi ayrı ayrı öpüyoruz. Şansınız açık olsun. Bayan Ayfer Yenija, the director of our Lycée Division, will now make the presentation of the award.
We now come to that part of our ceremony where we recognize with great pleasure and honor the particular achievements of members of the graduating class. I wish to express my most sincere and profound appreciation to the substantial efforts of these students. I'm certain that their skills, intelligence, and creativity have left their positive and unforgettable marks on this campus. I'm also certain that they will contribute most importantly to our country in the future. For all this, we thank them. I also want to emphasize that it gives me special pleasure this afternoon to clasp the hands of those individuals who have exhibited excellent performance in the humanities, sciences, mathematics, languages, and splendid talent in sports, music, and drama. Şimdi mezun olan sınıfın özel başarı gösteren öğrencilerini büyük bir şeref ve mutlulukla sizlere sunuyoruz. Her şeyden önce bu öğrencilerin büyük çaba ve başarıları için hepimizin en içten ve derin takdirlerini belirtmek isterim. Yetenek, zeka ve yaratıcı güçlerinin bu okulda olumlu ve unutulmaz izler bıraktığından kuşkumuz yoktur. Yine kuşkumuz yoktur ki gelecekte ülkemize büyük ve önemli katkıları olacaktır. Bütün bunlar için kendilerine teşekkür ederim. Sosyal bilimler, fen, matematik ve dil bilimleri alanlarında fevkalade başarılı olan, spor, müzik ve tiyatro alanında olağanüstü yeteneklerini sergileyen bu öğrencilerin ellerini sıkmaktan duyduğum kıvanç ve mutluluğu da ayrıca belirtmek isterim. We begin our presentations with the Halide Edip Award for excellence in Turkish language and literature. The deserving students are selected by the Lycée Turkish Language and Literature teachers. This award is given by the Alumni Association in memory of Halide Edip Adıvar. To present it, I would like to invite the President of the Alumni Association, 1966 ACG graduate, former Robert College English teacher, and now a local member of the Board of Trustees, Mrs. Nigar Alemdar. Ödüllerimizi sunmaya Halide Edip Adıvar ödülüyle başlıyoruz. Bu ödül, Türk Dili ve Edebiyatı'nda en başarılı öğrenciye verilmektedir. Ödüle layık görülen öğrenciler, lisenin Türk Dili ve Edebiyatı öğretmenleri tarafından seçilmektedir. Bu ödülü sunmak üzere Mezunlar Cemiyeti Başkanı ve aynı zamanda mütevelli heyeti üyelerimizden Sayın Nigar Alemdar'ı çağırmış bulunuyorum. The deserving students are Azade Çakır, Leyla Kandur, Taylan Köseoğlu. The Trustees Award honors Susan H. Olmsted, a former teacher of English at ACG. The award is presented to a senior student chosen by the teachers of English for excellence in the English language throughout his or her lycée career. To present this award, we're honored by the presence of another dedicated member of the Board of Trustees, an ACG graduate and professor of English literature and drama at Boğaziçi University, Professor Oya Başak. Sayın mütevelli heyetimiz, önceki yıllarda burada İngilizce öğretmenliği yapmış Susan H. Olmsted onuruna ödülünü sunmaktadır. Bu ödül, tüm lise yıllarında İngilizce'de üstün başarı göstererek mükemmelliğe ulaşmış bir öğrenciye verilmekte ve bu öğrenci İngilizce öğretmenleri tarafından seçilmektedir. Bu ödülü sunmak üzere mütevelli heyetinin diğer bir üyesini Amerikan Kız Koleji'nden mezun ve Boğaziçi Üniversitesi'nde İngiliz Edebiyatı ve Tiyatrosu profesörü olan ve daha önce bu ödüle layık görülmüş olan Oya Başar'ı buraya davet ediyorum. For his excellence in English, the prize goes to Jean Manas. Also, for his excellence in English, Güneş İlkelen. For her excellence in English, Sibel Aralı will receive honorable mention certificates. Award is given to the student who, in the opinion of the teachers of the Foreign Language Department, most deserve recognition for his or her work in French and German. To present this award, I would like to invite someone who herself is rich with languages. She teaches German, but speaks French at home, converses in English with me, but in Turkish with Mehmet Bey, our devoted chairman of the General Studies Department, Mrs. Waltraud Hanapoulos. Page ödülü, Fransızca ya da Almanca dillerinde yaptığı çalışmalarla ve bu dillerde üstün başarısını kanıtlamış bir öğrenciye verilmektedir. Bu ödüle layık görülen öğrenci, yabancı diller bölümü tarafından seçilmektedir. Bu ödülü sunmak üzere, çeşitli dillere hakimiyeti açısından gerçekten zengin bir insanı buraya davet ettim. Kendisi Almanca öğretmekte, evinde Fransızca konuşmakta, benimle İngilizce, Mehmet Bey'le Türkçe konuşarak anlaşmaktadır. Genel Dersler Bölümünün Başkanı, Sayın Waltraud Hanapoulos. For his excellence in German language, the award goes to Erdal Gökçe and Türkeş Ülker receives honorable mention certificate. This award this year is prepared for a special individual who has shown most ability and deserves recognition for her work in French and English, as well as high competence in Turkish, Gülis Türker. Our next award is in memory of Miss Armine Şükür, a dedicated biology teacher at ACG and Robert College for over 30 years, a beloved friend and colleague. This award is presented to that student who, in the opinion of the mathematics department, has exhibited creativity in mathematics far beyond the limits of the regular course requirements throughout Lycée. I would like this award to be presented by someone who taught you mathematics and cared for you greatly this year. We wish you all the best for future, Mr. Novitsky. Hamilton Award, given in memory of a dedicated young teacher of physics. This award and the Bausch and Lomb Award are presented to senior students who, in the opinion of the science department, have shown outstanding ability and diligence in the field of science during their lycée career. To present these awards, I'm happy to welcome to our ceremony today one of our resident trustees, 1947 graduate of Robert Academy, a former chemistry teacher, and now the General Director of Wyeth Laboratories, Mr. Hamdi Dürüst. Şimdi sıra Michael Hamilton ödülünde. Bu ödül, genç ve fedakar bir fizik öğretmeninin anısına verilmektedir. Bu ödül ve Bausch and Lomb ödülü, tüm lise yılları boyunca fen dalında üstün yetenek ve başarısını kanıtlamış, olağanüstü çalışmalarıyla dikkati çekmiş bir öğrenciye verilmekte ve bu öğrenci fen bölümü tarafından seçilmektedir. Bu ödülü sunmak üzere Türk Mütevelli Heyeti üyelerimizden ve 1947 Robert Akademi mezunu, daha önceki yıllarda değerli kimya öğretmenimiz, şu anda Wyeth Laboratuvarı Genel Müdürü olan Sayın Hamdi Dürüst. The awards go to Güneş Aybay and Bülent Mustafa. The Alumni Association Award is added to our list just this year to be given to the student who, in the opinion of the awards committee, has shown the most development in one of the arts. To present this award, I would like to invite someone who dedicated herself to Robert College for 17 years. She advised and guided you and taught you psychology last year. Today, I want to thank her again for her continued interest in Robert College. Miss Nihal Polat. Mezunlar Cemiyeti Ödülü listemize bu yıl eklenmiş olup ödül komitesinin kanısınca sanat dalında üstün bir başarı sergilemiş ve bu dalda geliştiğini kanıtlamış bir öğrenciye verilmektedir. Bu ödülü sunmak üzere 17 yıl kendisini gerçekten Robert Kolej'e adamış bir kişiyi buraya davet ettim. Size hem psikoloji öğretti hem de değerli önerileri ve yol göstericiliğiyle yönlendirmiş bir kişi. Ayrıca bugün burada hepinizin önünde kendisine Robert Kolej'e karşı süregelen ilgileri ve değerli çalışmaları için bir kere daha teşekkür ediyorum. The student who deserves this award showed remarkable development in drama, and he is Nuray Uraş. Mary Mills Patrick Award is given in memory of Mary Mills Patrick, who began her career at ACG in 1875 and was president from 1890 until 1925. The award is presented to that girl in the senior class who has maintained the best academic average during her entire lycée career. I shall ask this award to be presented by someone whose presence once again has honored our commencement exercises today. 1950 graduate of Robert College Exec, Professor of Anthropology at Harvard University, and our graduation speaker today, Professor Nur Yalman. academic average is 8.33, and the receiver of the award is Leyla Kandır. The Cyrus Hamlin Award in memory of Cyrus Hamlin, founder and first president of Robert College, is presented to that boy in the senior class who has maintained the best academic average during his entire lycée career. To present this award, I would like to invite someone whose creativity, guidance, and leadership is greatly appreciated by the Robert College community, a real educator, our headmaster, Dr. Kesselheim. Cyrus Hamlin ödülü, Robert Koleji kuran ve ilk müdürü olan Sayın Cyrus Hamlin onuruna verilmektedir. Bu ödül, tüm lise yılları boyunca en üstün akademik ortalamaya ulaşan ve bunu sürdüren bir erkek öğrenciye verilir. Bu ödülü sunmak üzere yaratıcılığını, yönetim ve liderliğini büyük bir şükranla takdir ettiğimiz gerçek bir eğitimci olan Sayın Müdürümüz Dr. Kesselheim'i davet etmiş bulunuyorum. Among boys, the highest overall Lisa academic average is 9.48, and the receiver of the award is Melih Önder. At this point, I would like to honor those students of the graduating class whose averages place them in the top 10% of their class. As I call your names in the rank order, can you please all come up to receive your certificates? Bu noktada mezun olan sınıfın ortalamalarıyla en üst %10 arasına giren öğrencilerini buraya davet etmek istiyorum. Sizi sırayla ve derecenize göre çağırdıkça lütfen sertifikalarınızı almak üzere gelin. Melih Önder, Taylan Köseoğlu, Güneş Aybay, Sami Küçüklevi, Leyla Kandır, İzak Düvenyas, Saruhan Özten, Başak Abdullahoğlu, Can Manas, Selim Tezel, Erdal Gökçe, Gila Kasuto, Çiğdem Kurtonur, Güliz Türker, Pınar Boncuk. In memory of Harold L. Scott, Principal of Robert Academy, Dean and Vice President of Robert College for 45 years, is presented to the senior boy and the senior girl who have displayed athletic excellence and outstanding sportsmanship. To present this award, I would like to invite someone who taught physical education at Robert College since 1978, coached Genç girls basketball team, and chaired the PE department for 5 years. She's leaving Robert College this year. We would like to thank you for your services, Ms. Johnson. Harold L. Scott ödülü, 45 yıl Robert Kolej ve Robert Akademi Müdürlüğü ve Müdür Yardımcılığı yapmış Harold L. Scott anısınadır. Bu ödül, atletik başarı ve yeteneğini kanıtlamış, spor alanında olağanüstü başarı gösteren kız ve erkek öğrenciye verilmektedir. Bu ödülü vermek üzere 1978 yılından beri Robert Kolej'de beden eğitimi dersini öğretmiş, basketbol kız takımının antrenörlüğünü yapmış, aynı zamanda beden eğitimi bölümünü yönetmiş Miss Johnson'ı çağırmış bulunuyor. For their outstanding sportsmanship and academic achievements, the awards go to Arzu Çalış and İrfan Ovacı. For her high achievement in sports, we have an honorable mention certificate to be given to Tuğba Göksel. To present this certificate, I would like to invite a mother whose feelings of pride we all share, Mrs. Betsy Göksel. The Parents Association plaque is awarded to the year's most successful student organization, an outstanding club chosen by the Student Council. To present this award, I would like to call someone who is always concerned about our needs and comes running up to help us. Chairman of the Robert College Parents Association and Parents Club, Ünal Erdoğan. Okul Aile Birliği ödülü, yılın başarılı çalışmalar yapan eğitsel koluna verilmektedir. Bu ödül, öğrenci birliği tarafından saptanmaktadır. Bu ödülü sunmak üzere her zaman tüm gereksinmelerimize karşı duyarlı olan ve bizlerin yardımına her zaman koşarak gelen Yardımlaşma Derneği ve Okul Aile Birliği Başkanı Sayın Ünal Erdoğan'ı davet etmiş bulunuyorum.